Good evening, everybody. Welcome again to another edition of the Volpe Bazzo Report. I'm your co-host, Dominic Volpe. With me is my co-host, Andy Bazzo, and our special guest tonight is Peekskill Councilwoman Mary Beth McGowan. Welcome, Mary Beth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. Not only is she our special guest, this is your first TV appearance in these studios, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Well, welcome. I hope you're going to be back.
You.
I hope you enjoy that you'll be back all the time. Now, mate, talk about being back. How was Florida and the pina coladas?
Yeah, I'd like to set the record straight. We had a boiler breakdown in my business. I never made it to Florida. The farthest south I went was South Street Peekskill. That's as far as I went.
So when you're not here 2 weeks from now, when the next show airs, you're not having pina coladas. You're back at the store working.
6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 8 to 5:30.
Now, talking about, just to get a little personal, because, people know you've been a fixture in town and everybody knows you and your family. Mm-hmm. I heard your son is going on a new adventure. I know you're proud about this.
I lost my right-hand man. I mean, I lost not lost. I shouldn't use that as a word.
That's right.
But
you're letting him spread his wings.
Yeah, he's off to Providence, Rhode Island. Things are looking good up there. He's got friends back in college that they've got a good setup going right now as far as possible job opportunities. Living with them, setting up even a rental and stuff like that. So it's the time where he's 25. He wants to see what's out there, and
but as a father, this has because your oldest daughter too. She went into nursing.
Yeah, she's a PA, correct?
Right,
yes.
and this got to make you proud that you raised them, that they're not dependent on you.
Well, we have two others at home.
No, you are close,
but we're close to the empty nest syndrome. As a matter of fact, I could see my wife when Nick left. There were little tears in her eyes as well as mine.
Well, she told me. I asked her. She told me. Well, what I'm saying, but as parents, when you see your kids go on their own and say, because you see so many kids that can't leave their parents shoot your apron strings, and your kids, it's got to make you that you did something.
There are mixed feelings. One is the fact that they're able to go on and they're headed into their own chapter of their own life. But the other part of it is that you're losing them. There's a reality that says he's not or she's not up in his bedroom anymore. Right. They're not coming home that night. There's no need to leave the light on.
So now you can rent it out.
Rent it out. Please. I think the other two have already got dibs on whose bedroom is and moving in like that. So no, I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Now, I just want to remind people every week you could see my column in the Yorktown News, in the Mayor Pack News, and the Somers Record. I work for the Halstead Media. It's Bazzo Says. Now, Mary Beth.
Yes.
Number one, I know, and I want to get this right away, that your term is up this year.
Yes, it is.
You've been in for 4 years.
I've been in for 3. This will be my 4th year.
Do you want to do it again?
When I first ran and was grateful that I got elected, I had thought to myself,
what about getting elected? Did you see this? Mary Beth for council. This was 4 years old, this shirt. It still fits because I was just as fat then.
I had, Leslie and I had discussed it, and I had decided that within 2 years I would know whether I, first of all, whether I thought I was, that if it was right for me and right for the city of Peekskill. So yes, after 2 years, I think that there's a learning curve. I think I've learned a lot, and I think that we continue to make progress. So 2 years ago, I decided that I would like to rerun if the opportunity arose, but there's been no real final decision yet.
Well, my sources tell me, yeah.
Well,
okay.
Again,
and my sources are pretty good.
It's a year away.
No, it's this year.
Well, it's this year, but it's not till November. It's a long way off.
But you're not going to turn it down if they say, Mary Beth, we want you, is what I'm saying.
Probably not. So, but there's been no final
decision. Are you still
decision.
having
There's
fun?
A process. Yes, I am. I think that's the really important part, or the place that I like the most. I think, first of all, I am enjoying it. I think that I do bring a different idea of to the council. I think there's 7 people there, and everyone has a vote, and I think my voice represents
You said
some
that
people.
to me in a conversation. I said, "Do you want to run for mayor?" And you said, "Why? They got to run every 2 years. They got the same vote I
Right,
have."
exactly.
I love that line because
I do.
they say that in Yorktown. And say, "I'm not going to run for the supervisor in Yorktown. They don't have any, and they got to run every other year."
It's we all have a vote, and I think that I bring I have a vision and an idea of, and I represent a certain segment of the residents in Peekskill, and I'm always looking for the benefit of how we can move Peekskill forward.
Now,
So I
Dom,
am enjoying
I
it.
wouldn't say Dom, because you'll agree with me on this. We always believe at a local level that political ideology really doesn't have. There's really no Democrat or Republican way to get the streets cleaned and to enforce the laws. Have you found that to be true? Because I know you are a Democrat and you have, but have you found that political ideology plays a part or doesn't play a part in the general sense of running a city?
I really don't think that in honesty, I do believe that it doesn't really play a huge part. I think that what really plays a part is that the individuals come to the table with pieces of experience that as a whole we make the community move forward. So the ideology of a Republican or a Democrat or an independent or a conservative, I'm not so sure plays a huge role on a local level.
Well, sure, because they come to you with legitimate local issues, complaints,
right.
gripes, and they really don't care what. When you're up on the dais there, it doesn't say RC and I and what all that
it
stuff.
really isn't.
It's like, look, we have an issue. How are you going to take care of it? And then naturally, it's how you're able to take whatever assets you have or money's available, and can we attack it or can we do something in the interim? And so that's the way you approach it. More importantly, is there any unfinished business that you started 3 years ago that you would like to see going forward? Is there anything that's on the horizon that like you say, we came in here, this was one of the goals, and so far this is not done. I'd like to see this further.
I think that's an interesting question, and I think that, I have thought about that in the last year or so of what I would have liked to attack, but we just couldn't get there. And I think one of the things is
Getting rid of dry cleaners.
no, I think really seriously, on a serious note though, I think that one of the places that I would really like to see us make great strides is in a coordination of efforts for youth programs and the youth in the community.
You talked about this with me. Why is this so important to you? Because we've talked about this, but what's the genesis?
Well, because I do think that really to move Peekskill forward, or really any community and the state and country in many ways, is you do have to grow your youth, and they do become really the vision of where you're going in the future. And I think that we have, I think the city of Peekskill have huge support for their youth. And I think one of the places
more than most of the surrounding communities in a way, because it's just and I think a lot has to do with the diversity of your youth. The surrounding communities are not nearly, and I mean this in a good way, diverse with economically and any standards you want to look at. And so you need to be able to give them their outlets that they would not normally be able to see in another town.
And I think that that's a big benefit to us. And I think you're absolutely right. And I've had a conversation with more than one person. I think if you walk the streets of Peekskill, you will see that diversity. And it's not just with race. It's not just with, religion. I think
like
I
said, you got economic, and any measurement you want to find, Peekskill's got a greater diversity than the surrounding community.
It does,
clearly,
including age diversity. We have a great mix of seniors and non-seniors, youth, under 16.
But the thing is not just seniors, it's the mix within the seniors from the truly needy to the well-off.
Yes, I think you're right.
Where most of the seniors in the other communities are probably a little bit more affluent than a good batch of seniors here in Peekskill. Here it's a lot is fixed income.
Yes. Well, but I think we do have, I think it's very diverse. I think we have both.
Yes,
think we
I said
have-
that. Even within its own subgroup.
yes.
There's now, because Dominic, now you see this all the time, just business-wise, right?
Correct.
You get all walks of life, and you also as a landlord.
If the term melting pot was ever
Absolutely.
meant, I think Peekskill was clearly. You just look up that, and Peekskill's got to be right after it.
Now, as a businessman,
And,
one second,
and
one
excuse
sec-
me one
go
second,
ahead.
though, but that is really part of the strength of the city of Peekskill.
I agree.
It's diversity.
It
agree.
really is.
It makes your police department what it is. It makes all your services what they are. Your library, because you're not just focused on one set of needs. You have to be able to think outside the box. Your senior center is part of the library. Yorktown wants their own standalone, even though theirs is part of the community center. But you found that being part of a center, you can allocate resources better than if you had to maintain its own separate heating, its own separate water, its own separate sewage, right?
Yeah, there's a symbiotic
Yes.
coexistence in a sense by doing it that way.
Yeah, I think it is, and I think that to go back is that I think that for me, growing the youth and finding a way to, we have lots of city programs that are geared towards the youth, but we also have a lot of nonprofits that gear programs to the youth. And I think that there's a way to coordinate those efforts so that we're not in some ways sometimes being redundant or working sort of not against one another, but there's two separate
I
people
really don't
working in
see
the
that
silo.
kind of. You have the Kylie Youth Center. You have the police outreach for the young kids that are interested in police work. These are not redundant things. You have the sports programs, numerous fields to promote them.
I don't think it's redundant. I think
I said
that
I
there's
don't
a-
see the
I think
redundancy.
that there's a way to coordinate those efforts so
might
we
be
can
different.
the resources that we do have are leveraged in a way that they become more impactful.
Okay, now we're talking resources and in coordination. This brings us to two topics that have been in the news that only one side has been reported on. First one, the Paramount. Now, I say this because people all over our viewing area, Paramount is a drawing card, and it's like Sears at the Jefferson Valley Mall. If you lose the magnet,
The anchor.
the anchor, the other stores go down. Paramount's an anchor for all these restaurants and all these, and it's closed. Now, there's been progress made in this. So could you tell the people what the progress is?
Sure. What has happened is when the Paramount nonprofit board could no longer function, they closed the Paramount. The city owns the building, and that's all that we
Correct.
really do have to do with the Paramount, other than
You're
that
the
we've
landlord.
supported it in some other ancillary ways. So the city went back and they sent out an RFP. There's
What
been
is RFP? You can't assume people know what you know.
requests for proposal.
Right. I learned that from Bruce.
You're absolutely right. And we sent them out.
And now those are requests for proposal is a what?
What we were looking for people who were interested in coming into that building and opening the Paramount again.
So,
running
this is
the
not
building.
for the purchase of the building.
No.
This is strictly a management team that's going to come in
Yes.
and run the operation
Yes.
of the Paramount.
In that will come back in and lease the building from the city.
Did you have any replies?
We have had 3 replies. I can't remember exactly when the date closed, but there were 3 replies.
Okay, the replies, because you need glasses to read?
I have
The three-
glasses on.
The 3 people are
Yes,
right there.
the 3 people that did reply were 3 organizations replied, and I want to make sure I
Tarrytown
get
is one
them
of them,
correctly.
right.
One was the Tarrytown Music Hall, one was a group called the Paramount Phoenix Group, and one was called Red House Entertainment. And what
What do
happened
you
is,
know about these groups?
well, what we did was, I may be a council person, but I'm also not somebody who ever has run a venue like the Paramount. So what we
Well, that makes you an unusual Democrat. You actually admit that there's people that you don't do everybody's job. You can let them do theirs.
I think that's, I'm not here to do everybody's job.
Sure, you don't want to be a Republican.
So, no, I do not want to be a Republican. That I am assured. So what we did was we sat down and the council decided that we would form a committee and it was a very small committee. It included
just 3 or 4 people, right?
It included 2 members of the council. It included the city manager. It included, at the time, the director of planning, although he has since left, but he was part of the original committee, and 3 members of the community, one being the Business Improvement District.
Jason Angel.
Jason Angel.
Yes.
Mike Morey, who is a community member and has some experience in promotion and a whole bunch of other things, and an individual from outside of Peekskill.
People on this show are familiar with Mike Morey. He's one of our recurring Democrat consultants on policies with the state.
And the other was Dr. Richard Becker from
Town of Cortland.
Yes.
Councilman.
Yes. So they sat down and they, over weeks when they got the proposals back, went through them, interviewed all of the people who sent back proposals. They have come back to us and discussed those with us, and then we are going to have each of the groups come back.
Right, now what's the next step? You've got 3 names. What's the next step?
The next step is the group. I believe there's been a meeting scheduled for them each of the groups to come back to sit and talk to the council for 15 or 20 minutes so we get an idea of actually having a conversation with them directly, and then we'll go from there.
Now, Dominic, you had a question.
So here's the question now. So are you limited in the sense that, let's say these 3 people come forward, and let's say at the end of those interviews that you have with each one of those collective groups, you say you get back with the mayor and the council and say, you know what, I'm not really too crazy. Are you allowed by law to send out another RFP to see if there's maybe an added interest from other groups other than these 3? Or would you have to choose, are you by law confined to having selected to run the management team from these 3 who came forward?
No, we could send out a new proposal if at the end of this process
You're not satisfied.
We're not satisfied with any of the 3 that come to us and have a conversation.
Right.
We're not limited in any way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what is important that everyone keep their eye on the real goal. And the real goal is that the Paramount needs to be the anchor.
Right.
I mean, we can all sit here and say it has been over the last 20 years.
Right.
Too many businesses depend, like I said, like Sears at the Jefferson Valley Mall. It is, and it has to be again because the other stuff.
Yes, and what we're looking for is, I think we at least for me, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, I think that we do need the Paramount to really excel at being the anchor.
Right.
Not just to, I think it is the anchor and has been for a long time, but I think it can move to a much higher level of being an anchor.
Well, here's the next.
It needs to have the doors open. It needs to have the lights on, and it needs to be there.
Well, here's the next. But here's the next question, though. And I don't know if you have set goals, but naturally you'd like to have the Paramount open for, let's say, an April, May, because I'm sure it's going to take that management team some time to start bringing in events and setting up contracts to bring whatever the people that they're going to use. But the question is this: if you're not confident of the management team coming in and they do a lousy job, you could lose the Paramount for a year and a half. That's why I'm saying. So that's where I think it's not so much a timeline, but it's more. If you're going to bring in a management team just to say we have to get this open by April 1st and they're not good, that's going to be a reflection on you as a council.
And I don't think that that's how I'm looking at it.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking at it, for me, I'm looking at the long game.
Right.
I want to make sure that when a decision is made,
right,
that we are making the decision.
In other words,
that's the best informed decision that I can make. And that I'm looking at the long game.
Well,
I
said this off the air. Said this off the air. One of the things I like, and that's why I like you on the show more often, is if you know something, you'll tell us what you know. And if you don't know something, you say, I've got to study it. And then you do. It's not a blow-off. No, but it's not a blow-off statement. Oh, I got to look into it, and I'll get back. And then nobody ever gets back. You've always gotten back to me.
Well, thank
with
you.
this stuff. Well, it's true.
I
though.
try.
So again, with the Paramount, you're going to be doing your homework on this. So you're not just going to take at face value stuff told to you, correct?
No, and I think that that's really the important part. I think to your point is we don't want to have something that opens and then has to reclose.
Exactly. There's not going to be a rush to judgment
right.
that you
This
say,
needs
listen,
to be
we're just,
right.
by April 1st, we need it open. We don't care. Let's just get the best one we got out of the three
rush
and get
to
it
judgment.
done.
Right,
It changes us to another topic.
Yes.
Peaks, again, that affects the whole area. Peaksville celebration. Only one side of the story has come out blaming the Peaksville Council that there is no Peaksville celebration. Now, I've always believed that there is two sides to a story, and I don't mean the right side and the wrong side, but I've known how government works enough, and I know that every time somebody expects money and they don't get it, that they've had these draconian cuts that aren't really cuts. That's just that wasn't as much as they thought. What happened with the celebration? Because they're saying it's money. You guys just did the budget, and I didn't see where we should have gotten an announcement like this.
I think I think there's a lot of things that have affected that. I think one is we have come through a very tough budget season.
Yes.
I think that was.
You did actually a good job, considering all that was with all the things.
It was a very difficult budget. We as a group worked very hard on it.
You actually cut management. Everybody else cuts the drone bees. Nobody ever cut. You actually cut management. I haven't seen that in any of these other towns. They cut the drones.
Well, remember, when you're talking about line staff, it's the men and women who are on the trucks that pick up our garbage. They're the ones who are out pushing the snow
Correct.
away.
Yep.
Just amazing how you guys know this, and some of the surrounding people, the towns don't understand that. Don't cut the people actually doing the work.
Is there a number that you have in mind as far as how much the city of Peekskill actually spent, like for the last celebration or the prior two celebrations? In other words, was the number 50,000 between the overtime, DPW, highway, police, all that?
I think it's a bigger discussion than that, and I think you have to look at it as a more global question.
Right, that's how I want to give you this time right now.
It isn't just Peekskill celebration. We do lots of things in the city. There's many festivals, there's many carnivals, there's
Cinco
a lot
de Mayo,
of them.
all them.
Right.
I understand that.
All of those, and I'm going to put them all together because I think it really is a question of
Same
the
DPW,
amount of
right.
expense.
Same DPW, same police department, same
and
logistics.
what has happened is, as new events have started to come into the city, there is
a further
a
drain
real
on
look
resources
at those new ventures or new events. They actually have to pay for themselves. Because the city cannot have residents or taxpayers paying for the overtime of police, the overtime of
It's a luxury that's
cleanup.
not affordable in this economy.
Exactly. So newer festivals all pay their way. They have to.
They foot their own bill.
Right. We may give some support in police because it may not cost us any money because of certain contractual things within the police force. But when it comes to cleaning up and all of that, we have, the Italian festival had to pay for its own cleaning and all of that. Other festivals they have to pay for the venue that they're having it.
Right.
Peekskill Celebration, because it was historically part of a city-sponsored event, comes under a little bit of a tricky piece. And that is because of certain contracts within the city staff. They had, DPW cleanup for that event. But what they also did was they expanded their events to 2 carnivals during the week,
Right.
during the year.
Throughout the summer,
That increased the expense largely. And, in fairness to everyone, this was all discussed at our budget meetings. And we knew that there was going to be some reduction. What our expectation is that conversations would occur to discuss how we could, because we know that there's certain financial obligations that we have always had to Peekskill Celebration, And the object was that once the budget was passed, to have open dialogue on how we could continue Peekskill celebration, but sort of reduce its dependency.
Right, and that's where
on
the
the
breakdown
city.
occurred.
And I think that that's where the breakdown occurred, and that's where that conversation never took place.
So do you think they jumped the gun instead of waiting for the conversation before they did this?
I can't say.
Sounds like almost like, excuse me,
what
but
they're doing.
it's almost like when you purchase a house, you make an offer, and the owner says, "No, I don't like that," and you walk away. Maybe all the guy was asking for was a little negotiation.
We were trying to figure out how
Yeah.
to really make it work, and whether the carnivals were really what increased the expense versus just Peekskill celebration itself. So I think that did break down a little. I'll go even further, and I'll say from my standpoint is, and I think this is true for any event that goes on in Peekskill, and I think it's something that event organizers need to sort of focus on when they're going to bring something to Peekskill is it's fine for us to, and this includes the business improvement district as well, it's fine to start an event and have some support, but there has to be a gradual independence of that event.
Right.
And I think that is, in a larger scheme, what we all have to get to.
It's almost like you're creating the seed money to get the thing started, but then it's going to have a life of its own.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think when you have Peekskill Celebration, who has again been around for many a year and has supported the city, yes, they through the events, and they've purchased the showmobile and they donated that back to the city, and everything is all good and well. But I do think that we need to start to move away from having, at some point, these kind of events be self-sufficient.
Do you see celebration in any way, form, even reviving itself maybe, like in the next coming months? Or do you think it's, for this year, it's done?
Quick answer. We have to wrap up. Quick answer.
I think that's up to them. I think I think that they need to,
But there's no inkling or inclination?
Not that I know of.
I gotcha.
So did this hurt?
No, not at all.
So you'll be back?
Absolutely.
Good. Because, by the way, Dominic already told me that with the tenants in his buildings, if they don't vote for you, they don't get hot water running your sewage, they don't get heat.
I will not stand
or
for
electricity.
That is not.
Oh, don't do that. It's fun when he acts like a...
First month that you came on, is it true you actually went one day and spent the day on the garbage trucks here in Peekskill?
No, it is one of the things that I'd like to do, and I did have a conversation, and they're like, well, no, I don't, you can maybe sit on the truck, but you can't. I'm like, well, I'll try it. I would do it.
But you did go with the police department.
I have not yet done a drive. I have not sit with the police department. I did go, I had a tour with the police department, the planning department, the water department, which was the water department.
You did all your homework
I
even
tried.
before you
I
got
tried.
sworn in.
I tried.
So how does it feel to get sworn at?
I'm focusing on the goals and not so much the ancillary noise.
I understand that. So I hope you will be back. We want you back here.
Absolutely.
And because there's always something to talk about in this area between Peekskill and Yorktown. Such a contentious political climate always exists.
I enjoyed myself, and thank you for asking me. It was very nice.
Well, anyway, so next week or the week after, Dominic has already said he's going to be in Florida doing Mai Tais. So I don't think he's going to be here, but we will have some good guests. But I hope you enjoyed this show. And these were what I say. What say you? You could say goodbye.
Well, we're going to say goodbye, but I just want to give a quick little mention. So on the Volpe Bazzo reports official, we've already come up. Mary Beth is running. But
yes,
regardless of
there's been
her,
no decision made. Regardless has not been
regardless
a decision
of her
made.
Decision is made. It's
There's a decision made.
We're right here on this.
Let me tell you.
Let me put it this way: when a decision is absolutely officially made, and I'm really being serious, I will let you guys know first.
All right, we'll bring you on the show.
Oh, yeah, like they're not going to let you run. I mean, do I look like I just fell off a Christmas tree?
I don't think that's all of it is. I think people don't understand it really is a family decision when you're going to decide to run.
There's
and
a big commitment,
a very big
sacrifice.
commitment.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's not just whether I want to run or,
Right.
yes.
There's other considerations.
But there is a whole lot of